Hello and welcome to the Point to Rise show. This is your host, Suzanne Prochelle, former international ballerina that found her passion in mindset, business, and technology, and is today the founder of Rise Media. It is my purpose to use all the experiences of my past to create a better, financially sustainable future for the performing arts industry. And that starts with every single one of us. I believe that being you is your superpower. And I am here to guide you, empower you, inspire you, and give you all the resources you need to rise above what you think you're capable of. Every week, I'll bring you 3 shows featuring guests, collaboration, and mini episodes to ensure that you have the support in your journey as a performer. I want you to know that you are not alone. Stop chasing and start creating. Your success starts now, here with you. So let's go. We are back. Welcome to the Point to Rise podcast. My name is Suzanne and I am your host today. Oh, you guys are in for a treat today. So Andrea Gibson is a self-compassion and mindset coach, dance teacher, choreographer, and mental health advocate. She is the creator and co-founder of Unconditional, the self-love movement. Her goal is to inspire change within the dance industry by sharing her own personal mental health struggles, as well as triumphs with authenticity and humor. We are talking all about our journey in this podcast. So grab a tissue because tears are rolling. I promise you. Please don't listen to this podcast while you're driving with your kids around because I did swear and I apologize. It came out. So, and I have committed to showing up authentically. So I am not here to take things that I felt out to whatever reason that might be. Well, I encourage you to follow Andrea. I encourage you to take in every single piece of content she has put out there because what she is sharing is what she's gone through. So without no further ado, enjoy this conversation. And we're back. Andrea Gibson is in the house. I am so grateful to have this conversation with you. When we were talking quickly prior, and we both were so excited because this is our official first conversation. Everything else happened through DM or voice message or anything like that. So welcome and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be a part of this team and your growth and everything you're putting out into the world right now.
Thank you, Doc. That's so sweet. Okay, so let's quickly share the story because I usually do how we met.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, for an introvert, I saw you on an Instagram live with Dance and Kirsten and Michelle. Christine, I guess still like the German cannot say her word. I'm sorry, darling. And I thought, oh my gosh, she talks about alignment and Bob Proctor. I need to talk to her. And that's how we ended up here on this show together talking. I really encourage everybody out there to be more courageous in following your gut and asking the people to talk to you, with you, that feel in alignment with you, because that's how we create a bigger community. That's how we create more change. That's how we feel stronger. And it will conquer these moments when we all feel like, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? It makes it so much easier, right?
Oh, 100%. I feel like I'm finding my soul tribe in a way, people who are on the same team and have the same goals and just want to create love and growth and inspire others. And like we were discussing right before we started recording, like your wins are my wins. And I really do believe that we can start producing that in the dance world.
Okay, we have our quote of the day. It's just saying GG. That's the quote of the day. I love it. Exactly. Okay, so without no further ado, let's get started. Who is Andrea Gibson? What lights her up? How did she get here? And what's close to her heart?
Oh, that is such a beautiful question. I have gone through tremendous growth in my life. I was born the term I like to use now instead of big feeler is a deep feeler. And that created a lot of negative responses around me as I was growing up because I triggered people very easily. And so because of that, we then learn to protect ourselves and we dim our lights. So I went through a very long period of my life where I dimmed my light to make others feel more comfortable. And by doing that for so long, I ended up in a lot of depressive cycles with major anxiety on different types of medication, which saved me in so many ways. But really what they were doing was putting a Band-Aid over a gaping wound. And only within the last few years, and I've done the work, I've done counseling. I have so many different counselors that have shown me so much and really helped me to find like root causes of the way that I felt about certain things. But inevitably, beliefs I have created or had created about myself that no longer served me. And over the last few years, I've really started to listen to my intuition, see those synchronicities in life that you're like, wow, isn't that weird? And follow through, take steps towards them, which has led me to this beautiful place where I am now in alignment with who I am and able to help others find the magic within themselves. And I feel like I went through what I did so that I could recognize that pain so quickly in my students and the other people and women that I want to help lift.
Wow. Okay. I'm just going to surrender to the fact that I will spend the next hour with goosebumps all over my body. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. A big feeler, a deep feeler. I can so see myself in that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into dance? Like, what is your relationship to dancing, to ballet, to that whole industry?
I started dancing when this is ridiculous, but also hilarious, when I was 7 because I wanted to be like Michael Jackson.
Why is that ridiculous? I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. My mom would say it's because my older cousins danced, but really I was like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. Michael. And then I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with being on stage. I fell in love with performing. It really started this need that was already there for perfectionism, to be validated. It kind of fed into that. So I wouldn't say dance put the seed in there. It was already implanted in my brain. So it was almost as if I went about my life from that point on looking for reasons to feed it and water it. You know, I can look back and be accountable and say, those are my choices. I was also a very young girl and I didn't know any better. That was a safety mechanism for me. But I grew up in the competitive world. I danced a million hours a week. I was never home for dinner, but it was like, I lived for it. And then I graduated and I didn't really have any guidance on next steps. So I came to Vancouver because I was living in Prince George at the time, northern BC.
I did not know this. Like, you all should see my face right now. I'm in Victoria right now.
Oh, really?
I am, yes. Okay, we're not cutting this out. I knew you before I saw you or talked to you. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Keep going. Oh, so that's really exciting. My brain's buzzing for all the things to come. Yep. Okay, so I came to Vancouver to start auditioning, and then I realized it was dance or my mental health. So I had to take a break. I had developed a severe eating disorder. I was a functioning depressive. So my psychologist was like, did all this testing. It's like, Andrea, you're really depressed. And I argued with her. I am not depressed. I get out of bed. I have a to-do list. I know how to laugh. I put other people first. And, just so many habits that were so ingrained. I was so out of touch with what was going on for me. But But to others, it could be obvious once I opened up. And so once I took that break and I started putting the time in, seeing counselors, taking care of myself, trying to relearn old patterns, I missed dance so much that I was like, I'll just teach a little bit. I'll just get back in the studio that way. And I fell in love with teaching. I loved seeing the kids light up. I loved inspiring them. I loved that I could bring a different element to class.
So that's a different element to class. Where did that come from? Because, and I want to talk about that in deep measures, because I believe one of the root causes of ballet dance being still the same or having the same issues and the same pains and disrespect, etc., like it had 40 years ago today, is because teachers just kept teaching the way they were taught without looking back on how they felt, without really doing the work on themselves. So what made you different, or where did that come from?
I think because I hit a bit of a rock bottom before I really dove deep into teaching. I had already started to uncover these different layers inside of me, and like dealing with my eating disorder and why it was there and what it represented. And then heading back into the dance community where that's everywhere, and being able to go, okay, how can I show up differently? What were triggers for me when I was a child? You know, very small things like standing at the bar and having my teacher say, suck in your stomach. When really, now I know it's completely different. They're talking about posture and alignment and using your stomach muscles to get your spine in the right, I understand all of that now, but words are so important. And so I started doing things like when I would give a correction to a student, I'd do a really horrible accent. And so that student would giggle and then go and apply the correction. And I just started seeing things clicking faster for a reason, because the more effort I put into creating a safe environment for kids to show up as themselves, I was teaching a different class. And on top of that, the more authentic I could be, and I'm pretty like loud and crazy and out there, it almost like gave the kids this space to just let loose a little bit more.
Wow. So creating the space to let loose a little bit more, doesn't that open up more ability to actually learn?
Yes.
Because you're not coming from a place of fear and not being good enough from the get-go. You actually create a learning environment, meaning there is room for mistakes too.
Mm-hmm. And mistakes should be celebrated. Can we switch that?
Can we just like claim that as mistakes should be celebrated? And how can you start today in your studio, in your classrooms, in your companies? I don't know, wherever you are at home, celebrate your mistakes.
And normalize them, right? Your students, they want to hear your story, right? Because they so often put us up on pedestals, like we've known all this stuff that we know now since we were their age. And I have to tell them, like, dude, I didn't get my splits till I was 14. Do you know how good that makes a 9-year-old feel when they're struggling and they can't get down? It just helps them understand the whole journey, as opposed to this immediate, right now, I need to know, am I good enough?
Am I good enough? Oh, I really need to write down what you're saying, because every time you speak, I have more questions. Okay, so here it goes. And please know that you don't necessarily have to answer if it's not comfortable for you. You mentioned that you actually were able to go back where your eating disorder really came from, how it was triggered, and how you could, from your perspective, change your words your alignment when you're stepping in a studio and now teaching other children. Would you be able to go a little bit into that? Because I think that would be really helpful.
In what I do differently in the classroom.
And what your triggers were and where that came from for you.
Well, my first trigger was that big, beautiful mirror that we all love to face for 24 hours, 7 days a week. Yes.
That mirror?
I think it's also being in that bodysuit and tights when I was not built to, I had a body. I was not given a specific, this is what dancers should look like body. And when I was already looking for external validation and already seeing who was being pulled to the front and who was getting the compliments, it was very easy to start making my own assumptions in my head about it. And I was not a natural ballet dancer. And it first started off where I would just do ballet to get through it. I was doing it to be a better jazz dancer. I had to do ballet so I could be good at jazz. And I actually quite often would like just sabotage my growth in class because I was so afraid of my lack of talent. So if I just don't try my best, if we do this please and I stick my butt out like a duck, I'm doing that because I'm afraid when I do my best, it's still not going to be good enough. It was a safety mechanism for me. And so I know when kids pull things like that in my class, it is not a disrespect. It is them trying to protect themselves. And what happened was eventually we moved a lot as I was growing up. So I really like that in a way because I could reinvent myself on each move. But by reinventing myself, I wasn't trying to find out who I actually was inside. I was trying to show up in a different way where I thought people would be okay with it, be okay with who I was. And it's a lot of when you're a dancer, you're a performer. So you just you're turned on 24 hours a day, ready to show the world what you think they need to see. And ballet was a very big trigger for me. And when I made the choice, okay, I'm going to show up, I'm going to try it for 1 year. This is what I needed to say to myself because I had very much all or nothing thinking. I'm good at this or I'm not, right? So I'm going to give it 1 year, 1 season, and I'm going to try my best in ballet. And if it kills me, so be it. And I'm not going to be the best ballet dancer in class. I'm going to be my best ballet dancer, my best version that I have. And that is the year everything in dance changed for me. And at the end of that year, I had a teacher on my report card say, Andrea has worked so hard and come so far, but she just doesn't have the body or the hips or the feet or the turnout. It's not her fault. And it crushed me. Like it's like, wow, I'm still, it really chokes me up still. But I know she was saying that to come from a kind place. She really was trying to say, Andrea, I see your hard work. But it created this relationship with my body where it was holding me back. I had something that I was good at. I was really good at dance. And I was a great performer. And I just came to life on stage. And yet I felt like my body was not allowing me to get to where I needed to. And so went this hate relationship and this disassociation from it.
Wow. Sorry, I have no words because not only can I relate so deeply to it, I can also feel the pain when we're talking about that because what if our best is not enough, right? What if we are just not enough for what we want? And I have to honestly say, I still struggle with that in ways that I never thought would arise. Like, what if what I want doesn't want me?
Yeah.
And I I don't know. Do you have a solution for that yet? Because I have not found something that comforts me really to the bones yet.
Mine, I have a different, I'm going to get out there on you. I have a different trust in the universe now. And if something that I really want doesn't want me, it's because there is a better plan for me. Rejection is protection and redirection. And that is what I live by now. And I allow those emotions and those feelings to come up if it's disappointment. But I also know that that was just a stepping stone for what's next on my list. And the more I trust in the plan or of why I'm here, the more beautiful things just start unfolding before me that I never would have guessed. Like being here with you.
Yeah. Okay. So can we potentially rewrite this? Because I know you and I are not the only people that felt that way or feel that way. So let's just say you come towards those feelings that what if my best is still not good enough? I'd love to hear your suggestion as a rewrite first, and then I'll share mine.
I think the problem is, what if my best is still not good enough? Is again, it's that all or nothing mentality, and it doesn't leave room for growth. So it was like that feeling when I graduated. I actually thought, well, this is as good as I'm going to get as a dancer. What if my best isn't good enough? Well, baby, this is just the beginning.
I love that. So who's gonna sit here and let you take over? You can. No. So and I love that. And that goes for all ages, no matter where you're at. If you're 18, 16, 26, 84, it doesn't matter, because there's an infinite amount of versions of us out there that we can tap into at any given point. We just never being taught this. And I believe that even the spiritual work, particularly in dancers, is so important. However, back to the rewriting. So whenever I get to but what if I'm not good enough for this, or what if my best isn't good enough for that, I insert yet. And that gives me the room to expand and to say, well, just because it's not here at this very moment, it doesn't mean it can't be there tomorrow, because you've learned something new, or you expanded, or you met somebody else, or there are infinite options available for us, right? And I believe that all or nothing mentality was very much brought in through schooling, and for me, going through a high elite training in my formative years for such a long time, that it just really became my identity.
It's your belief system, right? So that's like diving right into the mindset. And Bob Proctor, who we both agree is such an amazing man, your thoughts affect your feelings, and your feelings affect your actions. And a belief that you hold about yourself is just something that you've been told or you've thought over and over again. And that, to me, that's magic, because that puts us in the driver's seat, because now I can start choosing the thoughts that I want to believe about myself. I can start questioning my old beliefs. I can trash it or true it, and I can start this new cycle. And that is what I want the kids to know.
Oh, and it's so simple. To like when we're breaking it down like that, it is very simple. And just for anybody listening and just like, what was that? It is very, very, very simple. You can just go back, you write it down, and keep repeating it until you understand it. And then the doors will open, and this aha moment that is so beautiful, understanding that whatever we believed around the director putting us into the roles, or this person is responsible for hiring us, that all will fall off. And it will just allow us to step into our own power and realize that we do create what we want to see. Yes, external circumstances are the way they are. However, it's on us, and it's for us to decide how we want to react to that.
Yes. Are we reacting or are we responding?
Yes, exactly. So let's go there. What's the difference between reacting and responding for you?
To me, reacting is this immediate, it's attack. It's a protection of the ego. It is coming from a place where it's your subconscious responding. So I'm not thinking this is what I'm going to say next. It's just like this immediate, I need to protect myself. Whereas a response is when you have the opportunity to take the breath, notice what's coming up in your body, and then choose what you're going to say.
Also being aware of who's talking right now, right? Is it really my subconscious, my ego? Is that the reaction that I'm putting out there? Are these like the emotions that are coming up that I put into words? Or am I responding the way that I really actually, that my higher self, that next version of me wants to act like? And I find that if we were to apply these teachings in our studios with dancers, with artists all together, imagine the world we would be creating. There would not be much room for eating disorders. There would not be room for harsh words that are crushing little souls. There would not be room for abuse at all, because we're not coming from a place of fear. We're leading with love. And I think that is the difference. Even if it's a competitive environment, that would not even be existing anymore. And, I hear so many times, oh, this is such a long road and we're never gonna get to the change, and it's everybody else's responsibility. And I think that's exactly the problem. That is the problem.
And that's something I feel the exact opposite about. I look around and all I see are people who are ready to do something different, or, women who are lifting other women and say, hey, I got something special here, but have you checked out this one? Have you heard what she had to say? I really feel like our little community is starting to explode. And the thing about something that is led with such light and positivity is that the momentum will pick up faster. And when we're constantly looking for solutions instead of focusing on the problems, that's the sweet spot. So we can sit around for hours and just complain, or we can put our heads together and get curious and get excited about the changes we can make.
Thank you for bringing that up. Because isn't it, we see what we focus on. We create what we focus on. We experience what we focus on. And when we're really being honest and truthful, what is being created right now within the performing arts? We're so fearful of, all chasing the same donors. We're so fearful that there are not enough jobs. When you go onto Instagram, you can see how many people are making fun of their own struggles and the audition period that they're stepping into and how they're going to feel. And everything is coming from a place of victimhood and fear and lack.
Scarcity mindset is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Because the belief is there that, okay, there are 2 million dancers and there are only 200 jobs. So I might as well, either give up or put myself down, dim my light right away from the beginning, so I don't have any expectations. So therefore I can disappoint myself. And I truly believe, and it's not easy work, however, it's possible. Switching that belief alone will create this tsunami of love that nobody will be able to resist.
That has been, the whole abundance mindset has been very new to me. And that has really changed. I'm talking the last few months.
Good for you.
So as I've been doing this Thinking into Results program and learning about mindset and getting all these fabulous ideas and believing in myself and trusting in myself, it started with being so afraid to share them. Because if I let other people hear them, then I wasn't special anymore. They weren't my ideas anymore. And that came from a place from the dance world. And
okay, let's go there. Yeah,
the whole
no.
copyright issues and it becomes so debilitating to the point where now you're not sharing anything with anyone out of fear that then you're going to lose your value. And there's this whole law of compensation that I've been studying, where the more you put out, the more you share, the more you give, the more that comes back. And it has been proving itself to me time and time again.
Okay, let's go there. I'm like jumping up and down. My insights are going. You said it so beautifully, and I'm so grateful that you just gone through this, because I got out of a conversation with somebody who wanted to share some artistic ideas and things that they've done. However, there is this fear of the other people taking away the idea.
Yeah.
Okay? And we see it over and over and over again in any kind of arts organization, no matter where, okay? If it's dance, acting, comedy, you name it. And that very thinking, I think, is one of the things that's in the way. People want to see more. They want to know how things are being created. And what is really the worst case scenario that can happen? Help me understand. What's the worst case scenario?
That someone then gets the credit for something that you would deem as yours. And what? And we're still struggling up the ladder ourselves?
Yeah.
But that's my ladder up there and I'm stuck down here. There is this abundance now where I can trust. It doesn't matter how many ideas or thoughts I share. That's why I have them in the first place. It is my duty. And they keep coming. As soon as you understand, we are not one-hit wonders.
We all get ideas, right?
Yes, there is so much untapped potential. And the more that we start, this is going to send me on a self-care rant. The more you start creating boundaries and you start showing up for yourself and you start doing what it is your body needs and you stop hustling and slowing down and following those intuitive nudges, the more ideas you get, the more love and care you not just put out into the universe, you pour into yourself, the more the universe is going to show up for you. And that is another thing that I've learned only within this last year. And it has blown my mind.
It's that trust that.
Exactly.
In one way, for us creators and truly performing artists are the original creator community. Mm-hmm. This is what's been over centuries been proven, creators through and through and through. Where am I going? Good Lord.
It's okay. You gave me an idea because it's bringing me back to that ballet class of mine where I decided to give it 1 year. I'll just try my best for 1 year. Okay. Just try taking care of you for 1 year. Try trusting that it's going to come together and that you have a path for 1 year. And then let's talk. Because the fear is so debilitating, it doesn't even allow you to take those steps forward anymore. So you have to find a way to coax yourself into trying something new, because your way is not working when it's this cyclical hamster wheel.
Okay. And even if a year sounds overwhelming, which it can, right? For somebody that's not used to taking care of themselves at all. And we're going to go there here in a second. Say today,
yes,
take care of myself.
Yeah.
And then the next day, because those big audacious goals can sound overwhelming. And then we get into the hamster wheel. Well, that's not me. I can't do that, blah, 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 blah. And we're really negotiating with ourselves, right? And arguing for our limitations. What does self-care?
Right there, though, arguing for our limitations. Did you hear yourself say that? Yeah.
Oh, I said it.
Yeah, that's beautiful, though.
We do.
Yeah,
And
we do.
Yeah, I did this morning. I argued for my limitations. But this can't be because I'm like, why, Susie? Why? Can you not just try it? Can you not just lean into it and see how it feels and ask the question and then decide? And maybe not today decide. Maybe you can just be open about it and have the faith that things will work out the way they are supposed to work out versus trying to stay in control where you really truly are in the way. So I know that as a dancer, I was arguing for my limitations on a miniature basis.
Yeah.
So let's talk self-care, because self-care is such a big buzzword and everybody's talking about it. And when you hear, people that are more known than others and have big names in the dance world, when they talk about self-care, it makes my toe sprinkle because it's all about the bubble bath and, I don't know, getting your nails done and your hair done up, where that is part, and it's a great start, because if you don't know how to, let's say, set boundaries, or if you're completely in resistance to what is self-care and I'm not worthy of it, then perhaps that's a good start. However, I see self-care as different layers and what we can do and what actually falls in to self-care. Let's talk about that a little.
This is a really heavy subject for me. It's very important. It's actually something that I'm partnering up with a breathwork coach. Her name's Abby. She's from Wellness Creek. And we're creating something called the Self-Care Sisterhood, just to start helping people understand that. And it's a community where you can come together. It's only like 2 Zoom classes a month. And what happens is you get to discuss, you get the tools, you get to discuss how to apply them. And then you get to come back in a few weeks' time to hold yourself accountable, but in a loving, encouraging, growing way, because these are big changes. My biggest, sweetest, most hardcore self-care move was slowing down. It was getting out of the race that I had been running since I was 3 years old and seeing that there was no finish line. And it didn't matter what I did. As soon as I accomplished it, I couldn't even enjoy it because I was obsessing over the next thing that I needed to finish. And when you live off a to-do list like that, you never get to stop and appreciate. It's self-sabotage. So stepping off that race and not earning my rest time, I didn't earn this. I deserve it because I am a human and this is what my body needs. And I rested all day yesterday. I get frustrated and be like, but yesterday was a couch day. I barely did anything. I put my feet up. I read a book. I did everything I needed. And my body still went, but you need more. You've been running since you were 3. You need more. Show me you care. Show me you can hear what I'm saying. Okay. And then we're creating new habits and new patterns. And the best thing about that is when I get back in that race, I notice faster. And it's like meditation. It's not about clearing your mind of thought. It's about noticing when the thoughts come in and then guiding yourself back.
Right. So the biggest act of self-care that we can give us is actually the permission to rest. And boy, can I relate to this. I think the way I used to or thought I get validation and I felt worthy of earning whatever that was through being completely exhausted and live in a consistent burnout stage.
Yeah.
Because in the industry, that was rewarded, that was taken care of. Like as soon as, let's say, you lost a certain amount of weight and you were skinnier than you maybe should have been, the attention one's gotten, oh, you lost so much weight. Wow, you look great. Oh my gosh, I wish my thighs would be that thin. In a really, pardon my French, fucked up way. That's what we all crave. We need to insert that this episode is not children free. Do not listen to this episode while driving with your children in a car. And that just perpetuated. Like the more I lost, the more I smoked, the more I was hurting, the more I felt worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And now, and this is like, you will not believe this, founding a company and being in this whole startup community, they have exactly these same expectations, meaning, are you willing to work 120 hours a week? I'm like, no, not anymore. Absolutely not. I've been there 40 years of my life. I am not willing because I know exactly what it does to me. Oh, well, then you should be rethinking if you want to be an entrepreneur. I'm like, excuse me? No, absolutely not.
No.
You need to do all the things by yourself. You need to know everything and anything. You shouldn't be asking for help. And I'm like, oh my gosh, not my tribe, not my people. Absolutely not. Because this is not how we build anything. However, it is super easy to fall back into these old beliefs because, I don't know, it just opens up these pathways again, I would say, perhaps, that have been there and that are, not been driven on for some time. And that's where we have to, or that's where we can show ourselves even more self-love.
Yes.
Saying, hey, remember the promise you made to yourself. Even if that means it may take a little longer, you got to stay there because
that's what I was just thinking. For some reason in my mind, I have to say, okay, so what if Unconditional took 2 years instead of 1 to really take off? But you did it in a healthy way through inspired action where you were aligned. If you could choose, what would you choose? I know exactly what I would choose. And I'm not even saying it has to be that way, but sometimes it's almost like I'm bartering with my brain to understand where I need to go. Because Bob Proctor would completely disagree with all that stuff that we were just discussing, right? He would say, like, during the Great Depression, there were tons of people who were still making a lot of money who weren't affected by it. So it's about your mindset, because what you see is what you invite in and bring into your life. But that inspired action, that's what makes the difference. Those are the quantum leaps.
The inspired action doesn't come from a place of fear. That inspired action comes from slowing down and following your intuition every single time.
And listening, right? You need to slow down.
Yes.
To listen and hear.
Exactly. And that goes for dancers just as much as for anybody else out there. There is no difference. There is no divide. There's no special. No.
And the more you say that you don't have time to slow down, the more you know, above all people, you're the one that needs it. It's like that saying, if you don't have time to meditate 20 minutes a day, then you need to meditate for 40.
Who was that? Was that Tony Robbins said that you don't have 10 minutes a day to take care of yourself? You don't have a life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, true that. What is unconditional? Let's pivot a little bit. Let's shine the light on what you're doing.
Unconditional is my way of reaching out in authenticity and with vulnerability and showing people that you can be who you are with love and compassion. And that is where you're going to find enjoyment of life. And that you do not have to be so hard on yourself. Because when we have that compassion for ourselves, when we change our thinking, when we allow for mistakes, when we invite in those big feelings, it shows us the way. And so it started off as a way for me to keep in touch with students that I had switched studios. I wanted to drive 5 minutes from my house instead of 45 minutes. But you fall in love with these children. And I really wanted to find ways to keep inspiring them to be true to themselves. And so I started, there was a lot of perfectionism with a lot of the students I was teaching. It's a big thing in dance class. I don't think it's one studio to the next. I think it's really overall right now. And I found out that self-love is the answer to perfectionism. And I was like, okay, that's great, but how? So then I started digging deeper. And then I found out about self-compassion. And self-compassion are the actions you take to get to that self-love. And then I was like, okay, I'm in. What does that look like? And I started doing the research, and it changed my life. And that was only last year. It changed the way I started showing up for myself. And by changing how I spoke to myself in my head, it changed the way I felt, which changed the actions I was taking, which then I saw and was proud of. So it encouraged me to watch my thoughts again. Like before we started today, I took 5 minutes to meditate, just quiet, and I even wrote myself, oh my gosh, I'm going to share this with you, a little note. And it basically just said, like, Andrea, you are here for a reason. What you have to say matters. Don't stress. Trust yourself. You're going to love this. And I could feel my heart getting all racy. I could feel my anxiety kicking in. It was like, no, I know what I need, and I'm going to provide it for myself. And unconditional, that's what it's about. It's teaching people that they don't need to look outside for validation anymore. You have the power and the tools within to provide all you need. And it's a constant learning. And so that's what I really try to do, is share my journey along the way and how things come up for me and how I pivot and when I don't pivot and the big tears and what I learn. And my hope is then to make it something that's attainable for others, because if I can do it, anyone can.
Yes, anyone can. It is truly just a choice away, not just because you can. It's because we all have the power to decide whether or not we want to live a fulfilled life with, the least regrets possible, or something where we're not in charge of. Wow, that was beautiful. So what does that look like? Is it a container? Is it a course? Is it a community?
Unconditional, it's a bit of a community. I've started, my website is launching March 1st, which I'm very excited about. So I can go into studios and do workshops. I can do one-on-one coaching with students, which I'm so excited, and really help them find their own personal mental blocks, and then help them discover the tools. I'm not just going to hand it over to them, because when they figure out what works for them, there's a different pride to it. There's a different, it sticks in their brain stronger. Miss Andrea, I tried this, it didn't work, but this made the difference for me. And then they're going to bring it with them. And it doesn't just affect inside the studio. It provides them with tools throughout their lives. So to be able to go into the studios and do the workshops, to do the one-on-one with kids. And then also I'm branching into just a strength within course on confidence for kids who aren't dancers. And then we have our Self-Care Sisterhood for adults, just trying to get that self-compassion to as many age groups as possible. 9 to 13 is so important because they are so young and their brains are still so malleable. I didn't learn this till I was 37. And it's changed my life. It's changed how I show up for myself. It has changed my ability to parent my children. You know, I'm a different wife because I have boundaries. Because I can go, like last night, I was like, you know, after dinner, I'm just going to go upstairs and read for a bit. I went upstairs and I read in my bed for 45 minutes while my husband and my children sat downstairs and played a game. And a little bit of guilt kicked in, and it was like, no, I needed this. I'm listening to my body. Amazing. I never would have done that in the past. And those little things to show your soul, I'm here and I've got you.
Yes. It makes a world of a difference, right? I could not buy my first ticket for a women's event. My husband had to do it because I could not. There was so much guilt. I still so much, but that's too much for me. I don't deserve it. And I came out as a different woman, 3 days, and I was a different person.
Wow.
And I think as a dancer, I would have never thought of myself that investing in myself could have a return, because that would have required that I actually believed in myself and that I'm capable of showing up and that I'm capable of creating what I want. And if that's you, we totally hear you. Absolutely. And you have a choice to change that belief too.
And baby steps.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not going to happen overnight.
No. And one of the things that I talk about too is when it's so hard to change your inner dialogue to start. And there's so much science behind this, everyone. Like I'm not just saying this because it feels good inside. Like when your inner critic is running the show, you constantly are in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And when you are in that mode and that shame shut down, you cannot learn from your mistakes. You cannot make different choices next time, which is why we find ourselves again in that same cycle. As we start to show up for ourselves in a different way with love and compassion, our brain relaxes and it gives us the opportunity to make different choices in the future. We become our own biggest cheerleader instead of our own worst enemy, which is so normalized. And if you're struggling with finding the words, you can start with something like physical touch. Find what feels good to you, so that this is one of my favorites. You just rest your hands on your jawline and it relaxes your brain. But find, how good it is for you to hug yourself, hold your own hand, or, rub your knee. Find that place to start, because the words will come. But you can't expect to know how to show up for yourself when no one's ever shown you before.
And quite to the contrary, right? Like if we're really thinking,
oh my gosh, yes.
The showing up for myself was not even encouraged. Quite to the contrary, it was always, you need to fight against yourself because you're lazy. You are lazy, so you have to be in charge of yourself.
And the show must go on.
Oh, one of my favorite sayings. Whatever. We'll get into that in the next episode. But yeah, exactly. Okay, last question, because we're at time. With knowing what you know today, and you would have the chance to talk to your 16-year-old self, sit her down, and she would actually listen to you, what would you tell her?
I would hold her hands. I would look deep into her eyes. I would tell her how beautiful she was. I would tell her that I see her heart, that I see how much she cares about everyone else. But it was time to put herself on the top of her to-do list. Because if she didn't, she was going to get lost. I
want to share something with you. I I started some inner child work because just intuitively, I know that I have to. There is so much that I haven't really talked to yet. And I have this picture on my desk so that when things are coming up, I actually have a visual of her to talk to her, to just let her know how much loved she is, because that's one of my triggers, and how much worth she really truly has. She doesn't have to earn it. It's already given to her. So inner child work, you all, it's messy, it hurts, it's uncomfortable. We do need to, and I full-heartedly believe that, go back to, regardless of what age you are, even if you're 18, go back to your 15-year-old, to your 12-year-old, have a conversation with her and look her in the eye and say, hey, you're the best that you can be right now. And you're so loved. Okay, well, that was beautiful. My heart is aching a little bit.
You're so right, though, Suzanne. That inner child work has been huge for me. So whenever I talk about this a lot with Unconditional, whenever my big emotions come up, quite often, I'll look at them and I'll see myself, whatever age it was. And then I pull that little girl up on my lap and I hug her and I rock her and I validate her feelings, because we need to connect before we correct. Connect with that inner child, let them know you get what's going on and why they feel that way. And once they've come down and they've calmed, then you can decide, okay, what do we do from here?
Beautiful. Thank you. I want to end today with a quote that I found on your Instagram. It's actually your last post, and it so applies to everybody that's maybe struggling right now, or is carrying shame, or feels unworthy. The greatest mistake a man can make is to be afraid of making one.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. That was a very special to my heart episode. So whatever you've taken away, share it on Instagram. You can tag the Unconditional Movement or myself on whatever takeaways. Share this episode with somebody you think could really benefit from it, and go check out Miss Andrea Gibson, because her page, I love it. I want to call myself
Thank you.
because there's so much goodness on there, quotes and lives and reels that anybody and everybody can take a nugget out, and it's free. So here's the point. Like, if you really want to change something, you will find a way. Yes.
And find the people who light you up and inspire you. It has been such a blessing to be here with you today. I can't wait for more to come. Now that we're so close to each other, I see great things in our future. And I had such a lovely time today with you. You are just a beautiful light. And I'm so grateful to have you in my life.
Thank you. So after this recording, we're just going to go and cry. Okay, guys, thanks for listening. We're sending you so much love. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. If this message resonates with you, please pass it on to someone who needs to hear this right now. And if you like what you've heard, your feedback will go a very long way. If you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me. Till next time, point at yourself to rise to all that you are capable of.